everybody, welcome to the channel. Today on Scared Dad, we are doing the second epic battle between 2023 versus 2024. Let's get to it. Alright, so on this episode, we are pitting 2023's Grim Death versus 2024, the Banshee. Now, both are very cool, but which one is going to be the epic winner of this battle? Let's find out. In this battle, we are having 7 rounds between Grim Death and the Banshee to find out who is going to be the winner. Now, I picked these two to go against each other because they are the scary spitters from this group. Both very cool, but who's going to be number one? Let's get to the battle.
Fight!
Round 1, we are going to talk about... So Grim Death is kind of a classic Grim Reaper design. He's 11 feet tall. He's got a super cool scythe. The skull face, but the skull has like flesh over it. So it's like a living creature, not just like this dead skeleton. Very cool looking. And it's just an intimidating figure, standing at 11 feet tall. Like, this is a great centerpiece design. Now, the Banshee is also a very cool design, but she's not like what I consider a classic Banshee. She's actually a very like muscular-looking female, and she's got these interesting, not quite human hands. They're kind of human, but they're kind of not. Same thing with the feet. Now, the mouth is awesome when it opens up. Very cool looking. It's super creepy mouth. Overall, I think she's pretty cool. The one thing I'm not sure I love, and I totally understand the design choice with the line work on her face, because they wanted a way to hide that seam, right? So when the jaw opens up, you don't expect it. And I did not expect it when I saw the prop before I saw it in motion. So it was a very cool surprise for me. But I don't know if I love the line work on her face. It kind of feels like they needed something there, and so these lines are put all over the face. I think maybe it just could have been a little more interesting. Same thing with like these little bumps on her shoulder, kind of like horns, and they're fine, but I don't think they're prominent enough to really matter. So which one is better? Grim Death is a very cool face, right? Great sculpt, scary looking, very intimidating. More of a classic design, right? So Banshee, they didn't go with the classic. They kind of jumped in and created their own version of it, which is very cool. But I'm not sure that all the design choices for the Banshee worked as well. So I think the winner of round 1 has to be, boom, Grim Death, winner of round 1. On to round 2. This round we are going to talk about... So with Grim Death, super cool looking face. I love the design of it, the scary mouth, the fleshy look on the face. Very cool. I think the sculpt of the hands looks great. I think the scythe looks great. I really like the way they was roughed out. But with him being 11 feet tall, you're not going to go as subtle with the details, right? Because you got to be able to see it from further away. So I understand that you can't quite go as smooth with some of the lines. That said, when you look close up in the photos, it does look pretty rough in the face. Again, from far away, the distance you're going to be seeing it looks great. But when you get up close, you know, some of that subtle smoothness isn't there. The cut-ins are kind of rough looking and still looks great. I'm not trying to say it's not great. Let's compare that to the Banshee. The Banshee is a super smooth sculpt. I mean, you've got this anatomy on this woman that looks absolutely amazing. The way they did the body, the hands, the face, it's got smoothness, it's got subtlety to the line work that they put in. And then the detail when you see inside her mouth, the detail of her mouth compared to Grim Death's, you can't really compare it. The winner of round 2 has to go to, boom, Banshee, winner of round 2. Let's go to round 3. Now this round, we're going to talk about the... Now the costuming is interesting because, again, with the Banshee, they went with slightly different design, right? I think of a Banshee, I think of more of like a thin woman with long tattered dress or something like that, ghostly looking. But with the Banshee, they went with a little bit more of a muscular woman. And because they did such a great job on the sculpt, you know, I remember Ed saying he didn't want to cover it up. So they went with this torn bikini look with like the thread in between to hold it together. And the costume itself is cool. But and everyone I've showed it to, they kind of said, what is she wearing? Probably more amongst the females I've showed, but they didn't quite get the costume for a Banshee. Now with the Grim Death, on the other hand, he is kind of a classic Grim Reaper. There's maybe not a whole lot of thought design that went into this, whereas with the Banshee, they went with a very small, almost kind of a sexy costume. With Grim Death, they kind of went a different direction, which is funny because the Grim Reaper also usually has a pretty sexy costume. If you see most animatronics, the Grim Reaper's got his whole chest showing, right? Like he's on the cover of a romance novel, right? You've got like a Fabio standing there with his shirt open. Maybe you don't think of it as sexy because it's, you know, bones. On a person, that would be a pretty sexy costume. This Grim Death, on the other hand, they didn't quite show as much because I think Distortion knows that sometimes it's what you don't see that's sexy. So the design of the costume on the Banshee is more intricate, right? But maybe it doesn't quite fit the character the way some people would like. Grim Death, on the other hand, is a pretty basic black robe, but it's kind of exactly what you want for a Reaper. So which one do I think is better? In this case, I have to go with winner of round 3, Grim Death! Boom! On to round 4. Round 4, we're going to talk about the... So Grim Death's paint job is interesting because they didn't go just like classic white skeleton look. It kind of has this fleshy look. So it's like these tan colors. But then you get into the gums and it's like pink, and then the teeth are really yellow. And I think that's to really make that mouth pop out, right? To make him really stand out against the black robe. And I think it works really well. I think the paint job on the hands, pretty basic, but it looks good. I think the staff looks great. I think the top of the scythe looks really good. Great paint job on him. But let's compare it to the Banshee. Now the Banshee, they decided to go with this kind of palish, grayish color, which is, they said, almost inspired by like a great white shark, right? I think it works for her. I think for the design that they did, going with this kind of pale gray color makes it feel ghostly, right? You look at it, it's like, yeah, that chick's not alive. Something's off with her, you know, besides the creepy hands and other, ah! I also think what they did in the mouth, while not as pronounced as what they did with Grim Death, I think the subtlety on her works. You don't want to have a lot of bright colors, right? I love what they did with the eyes, where it's just whited out and you get the little bit of the blood vessels. Something I loved on Scarewolf when I did the last video. Again, on her chest, you can see like the blue veins in there, and I think that's awesome. So between the two, I have to say that I think while what they did for Grim Death works, and it works well, I think the winner of round 4 paint job has to be, boom, Banshee! On to round 5. Round 5, we are going to talk about the... Okay, so for the features, we've got Grim Death, right? Grim Death has the air. He shoots the air out of his mouth. He's got the fog that comes out. He's got the flashing lights for the lightning. He's got the animation of pointing, and then he bends over. Awesome. Great features. The Banshee is almost exactly the same in the sense that she's got the fog. She's got the flashing lights. She's got her animation. She rises up. She opens her mouth, and she can spit the air out at you. So these almost ended up in a tie. But there was one thing that put one apart over the other. And that is, the Banshee can not only shoot air out, she can also shoot water. So you have the option of air versus water. With the Grim Death, it just shoots out the air. So the winner of round 5 features has to be, boom, Banshee! Round 6, we are going to talk about... Now, if you look at the price, Banshee is about $2,500 cheaper. She is $3,890 compared to Grim Death's $6,450. But unlike the last round, these props are actually pretty different. Banshee is cool because she can kind of fit anywhere in your haunt, right? Graveyard type ghost thing, you can fit her in there and terrify people anywhere. Her price is a perfect fit for what she offers you. But is she better than Grim Death, who's a lot more expensive? Here's the thing. Grim Death is kind of a centerpiece to your haunt. Being 11 feet tall, if you have a graveyard scene or something with him, he's going to stand out. Not only is Grim Death a centerpiece to your haunt, but he also has the added bonus that he can give guests directions because he points. So you could easily have a sign, bathrooms, that way. Which way to go in the haunt? That way. Where do I get my candy? That way. Now, if you want guests to go to the right, well, he's not going to work for you. So what's more important here? The smaller factor, you can put her anywhere and just have that scare, or having this big centerpiece for, you know, more money, they can also kind of direct people with. I think there's a little more versatility with what he can do. Now, do you value that? I don't know. Do you need to tell people to go to the left? I mean, you could just draw a picture and have them do it, right? But is it as cool? No, it is not as cool. So I think between the two, it was tough, but I don't know. That's a lot of money. Winner of round 6, I'm giving to, boom, Grim Death. Point at the bathrooms, tell them where to go. Grim Death has 3 points. Banshee has 3 points. Who is the winner? Now we have to go to the most important round, and that has to be... So guests walk in, right? There's this giant Grim Reaper. And they walk towards him, and he, boom, points and tells them where to go. And so they think, oh, that's okay, I guess I have to go that way. But then he bends down, looks at them, and spits air in their face. Whoa, they're going to be scared. They're going to be terrified, right? Very cool. It's a great scare if you can get people to stick around for it. The thing is, right, if he's pointing and telling them which way to go, they might be running down that hallway before they get hit by the air. Now, Banshee, smaller prop, right? So not as intimidating. You walk up and there's like, hey, there's a sexy lady in this haunt. But then she starts floating up and you're like, something's going on here. And then the jaw opens, which is terrifying. But then she shoots you with either air or water and they get scared. I love the intimidating factor of Grim Death. He's big and he's scary. But the pointing, while it could be creepy, depending on how you use it, isn't necessarily a scary animation, right? But with the Banshee, everything she does is scary. There is no way you are expecting that jaw to come down the way it does. I did not expect it. The way they hit it on the face, it's terrifying. It really is scary. But then she can hit you with air or water. I think that would scare the crap out of kids in my haunt. So do you give it to the intimidation of Grim Death, or is that Banshee just too terrifying to ignore? So the winner of round 7, the scare factor, and thus the winner of this round of the epic battle between 2023 versus 2024 has to go to 2024 Banshee! Guys, this is a super close battle. I love both these props. They're both cool for what they do. For me, Banshee just had to come out on top. So that means 2024 is up 2-0 right now. But we've got more battles coming up, and I would actually like to get some suggestions from you. So in the community, I'm going to ask the question, what would you like to see next in the battle between 2023 and 2024? Give me some suggestions. You can help me decide. Thanks for watching. I appreciate all of you coming. Subscribe if you're new. If you enjoyed it, make sure you hit like. And remember, spooky season's coming, so go get ready.